Hello all, welcome back to our channel. Ready to look into something interesting? As we all know, some people like expensive stuff and some people stick to buy stuff with low cost, though they like to use luxury items. Those are just the normal types of people. But today we are going to talk about something which totally opposite from these two types. I'm sure you might be still regretting on some mistakes you've done in the past. But just imagine if the mistake you made is also expensive, what would you feel? Today's topic is about the most expensive mistakes that people have made in the history. Let's go. Check out the Starbucks cup. Can you remember when Game of Thrones fans noticed a Starbucks cup mistakenly left in a pivotal scene on the HBO series, but other television and movie mishaps actually cost studios a ton of money? It was when Warner Brothers gathered the cast of Justice League for some badly needed reshoots. Henry Cavill, who is known as Superman, was in another shooting which required him to have some pretty heavy facial hair. According to Looper, Warner Brothers spent millions of dollars digitally removing the pesky hairs from the Justice League film to make Superman appear as his smooth self. Can you imagine what a cup of Starbucks can cost you? Blockbuster mistake. Netflix has become a very popular social media influence worldwide. But did you know that the Blockbuster video didn't see its potential when Netflix wanted to come into business? It was in 2000 that Netflix came to Blockbuster with a proposal to take care of the digital aspect of their company while Blockbuster would operate the brick-and-mortar component. It is when the Blockbuster refused the proposal and now left with just one store in the world. Just think about the fact where one wrong decision can take you and the opportunity cost it had made. Lost in space. Did you know that NASA in 1999 also made a mistake by losing a Mars orbiter worth $125 million? This was known as the metric mishap by CNN. It was because the Lockheed Martin engineers used English measurements like inches, feet, etc. for calculations, in contrast to NASA's metric calculations like centimeters, meters, etc. Because of this, navigation information couldn't properly transfer and the orbiter was lost. Sizzling skyscraper. The walkie-talkie skyscraper, which is located in London, was popular for its uniqueness. But unfortunately it became more popular because of its south-facing wall, which was covered in reflective glass, began redirecting sun rays in such a way that was actually melting cars and causing fires. To fix this problem, it included temporary netting and then a permanent sunshade that cost in the estimated low single-digit millions. Bad apple. Did you know that other than Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, there was another founder of Apple who had 10% of its shares? The third founder was Ronald Wayne, who was a co-founder for only 12 days, and he decided to sell his shares to Steve Jobs and Wozniak for a mere $800. Just imagine the loss Wayne made by selling his shares. If he had the shares now, it would worth over a few millions. King Tut's beard. The funeral mask to King Tutankhamun was damaged in 2015 at the Egyptian Museum in Cairo after its beard started coming loose. In an interview, a curator admitted the restoration process didn't go as planned. Unfortunately, he used a very irreversible material, they said of the would-be fixer. No matter how beautifully it is restored, it is a fact that it is a piece worth which is irreplaceable. Botched bridge. For an architect to hear the name Wobbly Bridge for their structure is sort of a nightmare. But in 200 in London, that is what exactly happened when the Millennium Bridge was unveiled. The authorities had to shut it down after 2 days of its opening, since with the amount of crowd that used the bridge made it shake and sway. After shutting it down, it took 2 years for the modifications to be completed and make it a usable bridge for people. Fight or flight. As we all know, air travel is a super expensive mode compared to other traveling modes. But it was in 2006 when the airline Alitalia found itself stuck with the bill when a typo on their website allowed for $39 flights from Toronto to Cyprus, which actually should be $3,900. This can be known as one of the most expensive typos happened in history. 2,000 tickets sold before Alitalia could correct the price online. But the authorities chose to honor the cheap tickets to the tune of $7 million instead of fighting customers on their mistake. High seas disaster. The most expensive mistake caused to sink a huge ship in the sea is the worldwide popular incident, the sinking of the Titanic. In 1912, the monetary loss of this ship was on its maiden voyage when it sank, which was $7.5 million. According to Business Insider, that would be the equivalent of $168 million today. Other than the cost of the ship, there were also lives which the worth cannot be measured. Train trouble. This is when a French train company named SNCF bought 2,000 trains for $20 billion to use in the country. But it turns out to make the most expensive mistake the company made, since it turned out that the trains were too wide to fit into the majority of train stations for which they were intended to travel, where the company had to spend another $68 million of cost just to widen up the train platforms to make the trains fit. Bitcoin Blitz. Bitcoin has become a very popular digital currency among a lot of freelancers, investors in the present. It was found that a person named James Howells, an IT worker in Wales, where he lost his stash of 7,500 Bitcoins when he trashed his hard drive. It was found that the collection would have been worth $127 million today. School funding mishap. As we all know, education has become one of the major aspects to improve in the current world for a student. But it was reported that a $4.35 billion educational grant from the U.S. Department of Education so special for the student's career, though New Jersey was so close on getting the grant, an application error led them to falling from 3 points short of winning. According to reporters, it turns out when they were filling out the application, the administrators responsible used data from 2011 instead of 2009 as the application required. New Coke flavor flop. It is a fact that Coke has become a trend among the younger generations. But have you noticed that the company don't change its flavor much? It was after 1985 when the company changed its flavor to compete with Pepsi by giving a sweeter taste for the existing Coke. But unfortunately, this flavor became a huge failure, which cost the company in a huge proportion, which also stopped the company from doing significant changes in the flavor of Coke. Can you imagine how expensive the mistakes caused? But as we all know, not all mistakes as bad as the mistakes we talked today. Thank you for joining with us, and if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe our channel. Until we meet again, stay tuned.